You know, it's funny. We see our walls every single day, but we don't always really see them. Even when they look clean, they're aging in ways we just don't notice. So how often should you actually be giving them a fresh coat of paint? Well, let's dive in.
Seriously, take a second. Go on, really look at your walls. They might not have any big, obvious stains, but are they as fresh and vibrant as the day they were painted? Yeah, chances are the answer is a big no.
This right here really puts it into perspective. On day one, everything is perfect. The paint is bright, the finish is flawless. But then you fast forward 7 years, and you can see how daily life just quietly takes its toll. Sunlight makes the color dull, little handprints leave subtle marks, and that beautiful sheen gets all patchy from being wiped down. It's the slow, quiet degradation that we just get used to.
So, how do you get ahead of this whole thing? Well, there are really two ways to know it's time for a repaint. The first method is super simple. You just go by the calendar.
If you ask any pro, they'll give you a general rule of thumb. The average room, it should probably be repainted every 5 to 7 years. That's kind of the sweet spot where you catch the paint before it starts to look really tired or, fail completely.
But, of course, that's just an average. Come on, you wouldn't treat your quiet guest bedroom the same way you treat your busy kitchen, would you? The real timeline? Well, it depends entirely on how a room is actually used.
Okay, so let's break it down by room. The high traffic zones, like hallways and kids' rooms, man, they take a beating. We're talking scuffs, bumps, fingerprints, the whole shebang. So they need a refresh pretty often, like every 2 to 4 years. Then you've got your kitchens and bathrooms. They're constantly dealing with moisture, grease, and steam, which just eats away at paint, putting them on a 3 to 5 year cycle. And then finally, you have your calmer spaces, right? Your bedrooms, your living rooms, those can often go much longer, maybe even 7 to 10 years.
All right, so maybe you're not the type to put repaint the hallway on your calendar. I get it. There's another way. You can actually learn to read the signs your walls are giving you. Believe it or not, they're pretty good at telling you when they need some TLC.
There are 4 big ones to watch for. First, fading or yellowing. Second, any peeling, cracking, or chipping. Third, those stubborn stains and scuff marks that just won't wash off. And finally, that dull, patchy look you get from scrubbing one spot too many times. Think of these as your walls waving a little white flag for help.
Fading is probably the sneakiest one of the bunch because it happens so gradually you barely notice it. That wall that gets blasted with sunlight all day, it's slowly but surely losing its color, becoming a duller, sadder version of its original self. And whites, they can start to yellow over time, all thanks to that same sun exposure. And hey, if you see peeling and cracking, please don't just dismiss it as a cosmetic issue. This is a big deal. It means the paint's protective shield has totally failed, usually because of humidity, and it's not protecting the wall underneath anymore. You can't just paint over this stuff. You gotta fix the root problem first.
So that brings us to the root causes. We've seen the signs, but what's actually causing the paint to give up in the first place? Let's take a look at the hidden enemies that are working against your walls 24/7.
Public enemy number 1, without a doubt, is moisture. All that steam from boiling pasta or taking a nice hot shower, it can sneak its way behind the paint, breaking the bond with the wall and causing all those bubbles and peels. This is exactly why bathrooms and kitchens are on that much shorter repaint schedule.
And get this, it's not just the stuff you can see. The very air in your home affects your walls. See, paint is porous, which means it actually absorbs tiny particles over time. We're talking cooking fumes, smoke from candles, just general household dust. All of that leads to subtle staining and can even trap odors. Yuck. And then, of course, there's just life. Your lifestyle is a huge factor. A home with kids, pets, and lots of guests is going to see wear and tear way faster. Just think about the areas around light switches and doorknobs, or the scuff marks along the baseboards in the hallway. Those high-touch zones are always the first to show their age. Okay, so knowing all that, how can you make a paint job last as long as humanly possible? Well, this is where a professional application makes a world of difference. It's about so much more than just slapping some color on a wall. You see, a real pro follows a strict process. First, they repair the surface, filling every little crack and sanding it perfectly smooth. Then comes the primer, which is absolutely essential for getting the new paint to stick properly. Only then do they actually apply the paint, using top-quality materials for a beautiful, even finish. And then they do a final inspection to make sure everything's perfect. So listen, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. A great, long-lasting paint job is built on preparation. Skipping the sanding and the priming, that is the #1 reason DIY jobs often fail and start peeling in just a year or two. The prep work is everything.
We've covered the when and the why, so now let's talk about the real payoff, because repainting isn't just a cosmetic choice. It's a seriously valuable investment in your home's health, its value, and its longevity.
Now, this breakdown right here might actually surprise you. Most of us, we focus on the aesthetics, right? How it looks. But look at that. It's just a tiny piece of the pie. The biggest benefits are actually protecting your surfaces and increasing your home's value with better air quality right behind.
Think of it this way. Paint is like a thin shield. It's the first line of defense for your drywall or plaster, guarding it against moisture, dirt, and all the little scrapes of daily life. Keeping that shield strong and intact prevents bigger, way more expensive problems down the road.
And here's a benefit most people never even think about. Air quality. A fresh coat of paint, especially one of these modern low VOC formulas, can actually seal in old allergens, dust, and other gunk trapped in the old layers. It creates a fresh, clean surface and contributes less pollution to your indoor air, which is just a win-win for everyone living there.
And finally, let's talk about the financial payoff. Nothing, and I mean nothing, says this home is well maintained like a fresh coat of paint. It makes a house feel brighter, cleaner, and so much more welcoming. If you're ever planning to sell or rent, it is one of the highest return investments you can possibly make. Which brings us right back to the beginning. Your walls are always communicating with you through that faded color, those tiny little cracks, or that dull finish. So the real question now is, are you listening to what they have to say?